Today I got a lot of exclusive info from one of my Ubisoft contacts about not just Assassin's Creed Shadows, but also stuff like HEXE, Invictus, and how a certain character may be coming back into this world too. So let's talk about what I was told by my sources, then we'll get into the whole broader Shadows and Ubisoft Tencent story later on. So let's start with HEXE. As I previously reported in other videos, it's a game that takes place in Europe, specifically in Germany, but you're playing a female assassin in the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, originally this game was supposed to be about the Salem witch trials, but from what I can tell now, the story has been changed significantly since then. Firstly, the main character was originally named Elsa. However, from what I'm being told recently, senior Ubisoft developers are currently kicking the idea around to rename Elsa to Annika instead. So Elsa's new full name is currently Annika Adler, and the game's plot takes place between 1520 to 1540 AD. And Annika lives in a region called the Black Forest, which is in southern Germany, and she lives with her mother, who is a midwife, so she delivers babies and such. And her dad is an executioner, which has stained the family's legacy, because obviously this means Annika's dad kind of, kills people for a living, even if he doesn't really want to, so her parents' jobs, if you can tell, they mirror life and death. She also has some siblings, although I don't know the names of these siblings. So Annika Adler keeps to herself most of the time and likes to be alone and to mostly separate herself from her family's legacy with the whole, execution thing. As I'm told, Annika is very family-oriented, and her family apparently tells her to not trust anyone outside of her family due to how others treat people during this time with, burning people at the stake. But the story all changes when a local baron dies, and then Annika is then accused of killing this baron with what the locals call magic. I have no idea how Ubisoft tends to create this magic in an Assassin's Creed game. If I had to guess, they're going to tie it to all of the pieces of Eden and the Isu artifact stuff and the DNA with, everyone being connected to it. But a reminder, of course, Odyssey was easily the most fantastical and Isu-connected game in the series yet. I mean, you were literally playing a superhuman half-Isu warrior with a magical spear that fights human hybrid monsters in that game. Yeah, I know, Odyssey, while fun to play and all that, it was barely even an Assassin's Creed game at times, and more so, just kind of a full-blown fantasy game, really. So this kind of seems like it's doing something similar here with Odyssey. I'm assuming that Annika, obviously, like every other Assassin's Creed hero, has a tie to Isu heritage. So maybe her magic is some sort of technology that she doesn't understand that is tied to her heritage. Since all of the mythological things are explained this way in the series, like Thor and more, that rhymed by the way, but this apparently gets Annika caught into a Templar conspiracy. Anyway, back to the story. As I'm told, this apparently gets Annika caught in a Templar conspiracy because she is accused of using magic. Again, the game takes place, according to my source, well before the Salem witch trials, around 100 years before that happens. So Annika is accused of being a witch, and then Annika is then pursued by a hooded man who works with the Templars, and this hooded man is called Mephistopheles. Maybe this is the main villain, I'm not really sure, but anyway, Annika is then ironically poised to be executed herself, which yes, her dad does that job, so you can see how this is kind of complicated, but Annika, of course, breaks out of her prison, and ends up excommunicating herself from her parents, and now fully embracing the name that the public has given her, which is the Witch. Annika then fully embraces her newfound powers too, which are again magical Isu stuff, so I don't know what that entails exactly yet. I would assume she can influence guards to kill one another or something like that. No idea if she's shooting lightning out of her hands like Palpatine or anything like that. But the crux of Annika's journey is to liberate her family, clear her name, and hunt down her oppressors that have blacklisted her for a crime that she didn't commit. The game will then, according to my sources, jump months later and Annika will eventually come into contact with the Assassin's Brotherhood. Because obviously when the Hidden Ones hear of a woman who can use Isu powers, they probably want her on their side. Then the Assassin Brotherhood trains Annika and reveals to her the whole Isu backstory stuff, Adam and Eve from the second game, Pieces of Eden, etc. Obviously, a lot can happen in the story here, but I'm giving you the bullet points. And then apparently Annika will eventually, in time, splinter off and leave the assassins as well, and that she neither considers herself fully an assassin ally, but also doesn't want anything to do with the Templars either. I'm told the gist is that Annika is supposed to represent some sort of third faction, if you will, that could maybe rival these two groups that the series has come to know. So for now, let's just call the three groups Assassins, Templars, and witches, I guess. Funnily enough, these three groups also cover the basic RPG class setups of Rogue, Warrior, and Mage, but maybe that's by design. Annika then leads a revolution in Germany by inspiring the peasants of the world to revolt against their oppressors and free themselves of Templar rule while also being wary of assassin influence. But this newfound persona that Annika Adler takes on, it apparently ends up making her a very powerful and oppressive force, since she is both trained by the assassins but doesn't really trust them and also wants the Templars gone too. So you can see how this could be complicated, and yeah, I gotta agree, this is interesting stuff that I'm being told here. But this new witch persona turns Annika into a boogeyman, if you will, because now she is, as the game starts fully proper now, an alienated figure within the Holy Roman Empire. She is also disconnected from her family and the Brotherhood, and of course the Templars want her dead. And the general idea of the game is that Annika Adler has to wrestle with how far she wants to take this witch persona as the game progresses. If she wants to fully commit to it and be seen as a monster that preys on the oppressors from the shadows or whatnot. Also, apparently Annika has a cat, and the cat is also playable. I have no idea if this cat is also magical or anything, but I assume that the cat is going to be like the eagle in previous games, but I assume that the cat is more so used for smaller recon on like the floor levels, as you can obviously slither through small cracks and over fences and spy on Templars or whatnot without them noticing you. And I would assume since Annika has weird witch issue powers, she can just hear what her cat thinks and sees, I guess. I do think it would be funny if the cat had combat against like smaller rats in Templar armor. Imagine if the cat was stealth takedowning a rat and another rat turns around and is like, "What was that noise?" Yeah, I doubt that'll happen, but it would be funny and kind of adorable to see. But anyways. Also, if you were wondering, yes, there were witch hunts during this time period in the 1500s, but they weren't called the Salem witch trials, obviously. So this whole idea of witch hunts and burning people at the stake, this was still happening during this time too. Actually, according to Wikipedia, witch hunts began in the early 1400s and they didn't actually stop occurring until the late 1700s. So yeah, this game falls right in line with when the whole let's burn people at the stake for being witches idea, so this does check out. In terms of how the game works, like I said in my other exclusive on this in another video that I did, Hex will be more linear driven. Still open and such like other games, but more so the actual structure of the game will be like Metro Exodus. So you will start in southern Germany, I assume, and then you can explore there, but once you do the main quest, this will then lock that area out for you, and then you will move on to the next section of the map. From what I understand right now anyway, is that you cannot currently return to any older areas once you have passed the main quest that moves the plot forward. Maybe that will change in the future. I mean, they could always take old areas and then add new missions for Annika to do later on in the game, but as of right now, it's very much like Metro Exodus in design. I was told during the presentation when Hex was being shown off to people that the narrative director of this game specifically highlighted how women have faced challenges in video games and the struggles that women continue to face today in society. So I was told by these sources, this was seen to them as a red flag that the game will be to some degree a feminist-charged video game. Although, now that Tencent is a part of Ubisoft, which I will get into later, this could all change of course. I won't say the narrative director's full name that's working on this game, but her first name does start with a K, but I was told her full name. But I won't say her name because I don't want her to be harassed. But the game, as I'm told, has strong feminist themes and perspectives. But this is the part of the story that I was told where I went, oh really? So, let me tell you this now. Apparently when Annika meets the assassins, she gets trained by none other than Ezio Auditore himself. Of course, by this point, Ezio is a master assassin and is also a very old man. This would be the Revelations version of Ezio specifically. Revelations, by the way, that took place between 1511 and 1512. This game starts in 1520, and we know that Ezio passes away in 1524 due to a heart attack in Florence, Italy. So Ezio is going to train this Annika Adler to be an assassin before his, timely demise in this series. And the home base, so to speak, in this game is also called the Synod, and from what I hear, Ezio is a retired assassin at this point, obviously, and he just wants to leave the Assassin Brotherhood in a better shape before he passes away. So Ezio will be in this game according to what I'm told. And yeah, he will train this new character Annika, which is really cool. Hex, as I'm told, is not even in its alpha stage yet, by the way. But I was also told to be wary because the game makes the Templars, and specifically those of Catholic religious prominence, to be the main villains of the plot. And this game is going to be very heavy-handed to paint the Catholic people specifically as monsters who kill people and such without even bothering to ask questions. And yes, the majority of the villains, as I'm told, if not all of them, are going to be straight white males too. So you can see the feminist Ubisoft angle here still lingering, but again, now with Tencent a part of this new Ubisoft, we will see, guys, but this is HEXE as it is right now. And for all we know, Tencent will maybe force them to change everything about this. I also got told that Annika is canonically lesbian. And also, Annika is personally chosen by Ezio to be someone that he wants to lead the Brotherhood in Europe because according to what I'm told, Ezio sees Annika as a new way forward for the assassins. And at one point, he does ask Annika to dance with him. I don't know if this is at like some kind of party or something, but this is only so that he can tell her how amazing she is because she's this witch and girl power stuff. So yeah, the game is supposed to pass the torch, so to speak, from our fan favorite male character Ezio, and then try to establish this Annika as the new Ezio, so to speak, going forward. Will the fans accept that? Will they even want this? Do fans think Ezio saying Annika is the bestest ever is dumb or not? I guess we will see. But that's what I got on HEXE. Next is Invictus, but this is a lot shorter. So we already know this game is coming. Invictus, by the way, is a multiplayer game set in the Assassin's Creed franchise, but as it was explained to me, Invictus will be pretty much, just to make it as plain as possible to understand, it's For Honor, but replace the playable characters with fan-favorite heroes like Ezio, Bayek, Alexios, Arno, and so on and so on. Yes, even Yasuke. And the idea is that the game takes place in the Animus, of course, and then players become these figures from history to fight in combat simulations across different maps. And each hero, of course, has their own skills, tools, and play styles, and because the For Honor people are making this game, you can already imagine and see how this would all work out, I'm sure. You're Ezio, I'm Bayek, I guess, so maybe I hit harder, but you can move faster, and maybe you can poison me, and then you duel it out to win. I'm also told that the Black Flag remake is pretty much a one-to-one remake. However, this might piss you off, but I was told that Ubisoft are going to be removing what they deem to be problematic elements out of this Black Flag remake. I have no idea what that would even entail, because to the best of my knowledge, what exactly was problematic about Black Flag? Maybe you guys can let me know. Maybe Edward Kenway being a womanizer, I guess? But I mean, the guy's a pirate, so it kind of just comes with the territory, or maybe the whole slavery angle. But again, slavery was everywhere during the golden age of piracy, so I'm not really sure, but expect a full-blown remake of Black Flag to be announced soon. But apparently they may be removing things they think will anger the activists, which I already know is going to piss off so many people, but I'm just telling you what I was told. Also, the Prince of Persia remake, from what I'm also told, is really good. It's shaping up very nicely, and it is also a one-to-one remake of Sands of Time. This project specifically, a lot of people at Ubisoft are really happy about, that's what I'm being told, and that they have really high hopes that people will absolutely love what's being done there. They've apparently improved a lot of things with the Sands of Time remake, so I expect better combat and much more, but yeah, it's a one-to-one remake, just like Black Flag. No mention of anything problematic being removed either, so that's great to hear. But okay, now let's get into this whole Tencent Ubisoft wombo combo that is happening, and what I've been told about it. So, quick lore dump. Ubisoft shares are in the piss, they're not doing well. Tencent wanted to buy them, but then the Ubisoft owners were like, hell nah, we want to keep our IPs, so Shadows comes out, it does okay. Not good enough to save the company despite all the fake positive news, things are dire as hell. Now Ubisoft is forming a new company with Tencent and people are very confused, both players and even Ubisoft employees. So, flash forward to now, Ubisoft has created a new subsidiary group with Tencent that is currently unnamed. So for now, I will call it Tubisoft. No, I'm kidding, that's dumb, we'll just call it Ubisoft 2 for now, although Tubisoft would be a funny name. Screw it, I'm calling it Tubisoft for the rest of the video if you don't mind. So what does this Tubisoft entail? Well, it will be the new home for future games from 3 specific franchises: Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry. Yeah, all of Ubisoft's biggest heavy hitter franchises are now a part of this new company. Tencent currently owns 25% of this new Tubisoft group, and they've injected about 1.1 billion schmeckles into the veins of Ubisoft to foster the future of these 3 lucrative franchises going forward. And you're probably wondering, so wait, if these 3 are now Tubisoft games, what the hell is happening with the Ubisoft studios and devs and all of that? Good question. So, as of right now, from what I'm being told by sources, these 3 franchises will only be worked on under this new Tubisoft initiative, or whatever they end up calling it. So this means that the studios under Ubisoft right now, it's kind of nebulous exactly as to whether they are working on these games or not. This means that the games Ubisoft Studios can work on, if layoffs don't occur, which I think they will, they can only work on stuff like Prince of Persia, Rayman, Ghost Recon, and so on. But my best guess is that Tencent will likely take their big stake here in Ubisoft and then force Ubisoft to allow their teams at Tencent, which would be hordes of Chinese devs, to then work on these franchises specifically. So of course, if this then happens, Tencent will not only have saved Ubisoft, but they will also own a big part of them and be making the games too, until inevitably, of course, the endgame goal is to eventually completely devour this Ubisoft, and then turn it all into another Tencent company that they will now own forever. As Ubisoft and Tencent said in a joint statement, this is all for building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform. It expects the infusion of cash to bolster its creative and commercial prospects, increasing quality of narrative solo experiences, expand multiplayer offerings with increased frequency of content release, introduce free-to-play touch points, and integrate more social features. Evergreen content, by the way, is a term for content that never goes out of style, it just kinda sustains itself. A good example of evergreen content on YouTube would be like a Let's Play. People love watching games and seeing their stories, but maybe they don't want to play the games themselves. So if a content creator uploads entire playthroughs, it's likely that those playthroughs will consistently get views for years to come, effectively making them money, without them really having to do anything once it's posted. Hence, it's evergreen content. So when you place that against games, evergreen are also games that just kind of sell no matter what the time period is, because they're just good. Look at Skyrim, Minecraft, Half-Life, Baldur's Gate 3 even Fortnite to a degree is also evergreen because people just play it all the time. And Ubisoft and Tencent, they want this new business venture to lead to games that will become like these, evergreen products that can sell for the rest of time and ensure cash flow going forward. Obviously, this deal was made months before Shadows even released, meaning that Ubisoft knew that they were cooked no matter what anyways. So all that white knighting and meat bouncing by influencers and whatnot protecting Ubisoft was quite literally for nothing, and now they all look like idiots. Because I already knew that this was coming, so I was just laughing seeing people on Twitter going, "See Chuds, Shadow is selling, you lost." And I was just kind of looking at my watch like, well, enjoy your fake victory while it lasts, because the Chuds are going to have the last laugh in about a week once Shadows releases. And lo and behold, a mere week later, here we are on the dot. Womp 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 indeed, dear viewers. I love it when I get to see yes men get their just desserts. I feel like Yugi placing my trap card without them knowing anything, and I just wait my turn until they strike, only to say, "You activated my trap card." God, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I own all the original cards, by the way. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Buster Blader for the win, by the way. Okay, let's keep going. Ubisoft CEO had more to say about this new Ubisoft initiative. Today, Ubisoft is opening a new chapter in its history. As we accelerate the company's transformation, this is a foundational step in changing Ubisoft's operating model that will enable us to be both agile and ambitious. We are focused on building strong game ecosystems designed to become evergreen, there's that word again, growing high-performing brands and creating new IPs, powered by cutting-edge and emerging technologies. With the creation of a dedicated subsidiary that will spearhead development for 3 of our largest franchises and the onboarding of Tencent as a minority investor, we are crystallizing the value of our assets, strengthening our balance sheet, and creating the best conditions for these franchises' long-term growth and success. With its dedicated and autonomous leadership team, it will focus on transforming these 3 brands into unique ecosystems. So it is what I expected. Ubisoft is basically now allowing Tencent and its groups to make their future games for these 3 franchises going forward. Ubisoft will work on them too, but you get what I mean. I'm sure once these future games get made by these Chinese studios alongside Ubisoft, which will likely be mega hits because let's remember that China's own government has rules in place that permeates into game development, and China does not allow its content to showcase feminized men or gay men in general, as well as masculine women or lesbians either. Therefore, it will be interesting to see just how much sway Ubisoft will have with Tencent, both spearheading the development of their future games, because their own rules will definitely come into play here, and I bet Tencent just straight up told Ubisoft, if we save you with our money and talent, you're gonna have to get rid of the woke stuff. And Ubisoft probably just said, okay, we're done with it, just go make games that sell so we can keep making money and that's it, and this is pretty much a new beginning now for Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry. Of course, this is what I meant when I said earlier things could change, because the way HEXE is based right now with the female lesbian witch main character and white straight male villains only, I do wonder if things will change now that Tencent is a part of the equation like this, because very likely if they are to present this pre-alpha version of HEXE to Ubisoft now, they're probably going to look at it and go, so you want a game with a lesbian protagonist again that hates men exclusively and pushes feminism and kills white men only and calls all white men oppressors again? I mean, the likelihood, in my opinion anyways, is that HEXE is either cancelled outright or it's completely reimagined from the ground up following this Ubisoft collaboration. I would be genuinely surprised if it were to launch being anything close to what it is now behind closed doors. Because while there are elements of HEXE that does sound good, like the time period and country it takes place in, or the more focus on linear gameplay, The reality is that it's clear that people are just sick of feminism and female-led games, as I said in many other videos. A female-led main character game today is like the new bald-headed Space Marine main character game that was in everything during the early 2000s. We're just done with it, man. It's enough. As I was told by sources, currently internally, Ubisoft is happy with the player engagement of Shadows, although they are being coy about sales, because it did not hit 3 million sales, only players, although your typical meat riders will claim that its copies sold, but it isn't. The current plan internally is that Ubisoft wants to support Shadows with its own team to make post-content to keep it going, as I'm told, but most devs are now moving on to HEXE, as well as stuff like Animus Hub, which is where all Assassin's Creed games will launch from, Invictus, that's the For Honor Ass Creed hybrid game, and the Black Flag and Sands of Time remakes. Currently, there is no plans for what is the next big Assassin's Creed game, as I'm told post-HEXE, no historical setting or anything has been chosen either. But I'm sure once Ubisoft gets going in earnest, they'll then choose somewhere to, make the next Assassin's Creed game. I think Spain would be cool, or maybe Aztec stuff. But who knows right now, let's just hope that if they do set a game in Spain, it stars actual Spanish people and not some random black slave guy who suddenly saves Spain from tyranny like Shadows is doing right now. I was also told they are restructuring the team for whatever the next big Assassin's Creed game is. My source says they think this means mass layoffs and eventually moving Assassin's Creed to Tencent fully, which I am like 90% sure is going to happen. They will work on the game to some capacity. I was also told that PC players only made up about 27% of the overall sales for Shadows and the rest was on console. So Shadows did good, but not good enough for Ubisoft clearly. It does seem that at least for now, the teams Ubisoft has that have worked on their 3 core franchises will remain to some capacity. Mostly the Montreal, Quebec teams will remain as they are the most experienced, and other teams in places like Barcelona, Sherbrooke, and more will remain now too. I also heard that Ubisoft Singapore is the lead team on Black Flag's remakes, so I assume they will stick around as well. But there's no way that Tencent doesn't push their way with their own teams too, because while Ubisoft does want to keep operating as it is to an extent, the reality is that they have rotted out many of their teams with activism on purpose. And that activism, alongside the executives being idiots, is what led to their major problems and downfalls to begin with. So the likelihood it's only these teams that are going to be working on Assassin's Creed or Far Cry going forward, I sincerely doubt it. I absolutely expect a full game in one of these franchises getting made by a team of only Chinese developers, and how much you want to bet whatever they make will blow right past the Western versions of those same franchises in terms of quality and player response. They also had emails that Yves Guillemot and Mary Sophie sent out to employees of Ubisoft that also leaked. I could read them, but they're really long, so I don't want to bore you guys. It's mostly just, corporate speak. We're going to galvanize this and do this and blah, blah, blah. But there's 2 paragraphs that I found interesting. In Mary Sophie's email to employees that reads, Tencent's investment is a strong testament to their trust in our ability to grow Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. This is a direct result of the incredible work you've done in making these franchises iconic as a lead or major co-dev studio. I also want to make it clear, if you're not currently working on these brands, it doesn't mean your work matters any less. This agreement will benefit all of Ubisoft, yada yada yada, you get the point. So, they're ensuring that they won't be let go, as of now anyways, but I do think the writing is on the wall for sure. Because Tencent wouldn't just invest basically the entire value of Ubisoft as a company back into it like this to just let Ubisoft keep making the same mistakes. Like Ubisoft right now is barely worth over $1 billion. Sure, that's a lot of money, but for a company that employs over 18,000 developers alone, that's kind of peanuts. It also costs them something like $200 million a year to employ these people alone right now, so Tencent just gave them $1.1 billion. They literally just gave them their entire value and then some and went, fix these brands and make some money, and I just can't see Tencent allowing Ubisoft to go, thanks for the billions of dollars, and okay, let's go make some pro-feminist sweet baby slop now. I just don't see it happening, or maybe it does, and if that does happen, Ubisoft will then be so weak at that point Tencent will just eat them finally whole and absorb everything. But Ubisoft is in a unique position now where they are not fully owned anymore. They truly have to answer to Tencent in China in the future, and I do think because of this, the woke era for them is likely over. Well, it will be if they want to survive anyway, but this is what I got on all of this right now. So now you know more about HEXE, Invictus, some remakes, Ubisoft internal stuff, and more. Okay, that's enough for now, I think. My voice hurts. Let me know what you think as always. Thanks to my sources as always too. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.